these, so we've got 20 questions for rapid fire, and this is going to be responses by holding up your yes or no sign. And we'd like the candidates to wait until I say reveal, so you all hold your signs up at the same time. I heard a little bit of reporting from our scorekeepers that some candidates were looking at how other candidates responded last time, and we don't want copycatting. We want to know what you believe. Okay, so question number 1. This is an unmoderated question that came to me, and I wrote it out as it is. And you're going to hold up your sign when I say reveal. You're going to say yes or no. Number 1, will you appoint pro-family detectives and officers that will absolutely stand up to state or federal agencies to challenge their intent before allowing the families of Sanders County to have their daily lives tragically interrupted by board, state, or federal agencies who just want to force their agenda using law enforcement? Yes or no? Reveal. Scorekeepers, have you recorded those? So hold them up long enough so the audience can see, because they need to digest what everyone's answers are. Long question, but I think we get the gist of the angst there from one of the constituents. Okay, question number 2. Were the Black Lives Matter / Antifa protests mostly peaceful? Yes or no? Scorekeepers, okay? You can put your signs down. Now let's hold on till I say reveal. Is racism a systemic problem within the law enforcement community today? Reveal. Okay, thank you. Question number 4. Would you allow a protest to intentionally block traffic in Sanders County? Yes or no? Reveal.
How long?
We want to know yes or no. Okay. Number 5. I will say, candidates, before you hold up your sign, if you have a question, go ahead and just let me know, okay, before we do the reveal. Okay, number 5. Are national or internationally connected drug and sex trafficking gangs like MS-13 a real threat within Sanders County right now? Okay, thank you. Just realized we forgot the opening statements. We do those after the lightning round? All right, fair enough. Thanks for your patience. Number 6, have you read the entire U.S. Constitution? Okay. Number 7. Do you support it as written in its entirety? Reveal. Thank you. Number 8. Have you read the entire Montana Constitution in its entirety? Okay, thank you. Do you support it in its entirety? Thank you. All right. Number 10. Should the quantity of traffic stops an officer makes be a measure of performance? Thank you. As sheriff, will you hold the line alongside your deputies, responding to calls at all hours when backup is needed? Number 12. If a serious virus like COVID or something even worse comes back around, will you enforce laws or health orders that require people to wear face masks or be vaccinated? Well, okay, number 13. While off duty, should a sheriff spend time in local bars drinking alcohol? Okay. Number 14. Should a sheriff use marijuana at any time? Thank you. Number 15. Should the sheriff be held to the same standards of conduct and performance as the deputies and other employees in the sheriff's office? Thank you. Number 16. Is the current Sanders County Sheriff's Office budget adequate? Hold them up high. Okay, thank you. Number 17. Are you a Republican? So it is a nonpartisan race. The candidates will not have an R or a D or a L or G or anything else behind their name on the ballot. But we still want to know if you're Republican or not. So you're saying yes, except for one on the end.
I have a question.
No, not right now. You can address it in your opening or closing remarks. Okay, number 18. Will you, as sheriff, fill the position of drug detective, the vacancy? Will you fill it? Okay, number 19. Will you, as sheriff, designate a sergeant to be in charge of the deputies? All at the same time, no looking at the other candidates' answers. Okay, thank you. Number 20. Do you fear the Lord more than you fear man? Okay, thank you. All right, we are going to go to opening statements, and since the other mic isn't working, I'm going to pass this one around. So we'll just go right down the row here. Actually, we had this organized so that we could make it fair given how the order we went in last time. So we're going alphabetical, and we're going reverse to first, and we're going to start then with candidate Wielden for a 2-minute opening statement, and timer ready as soon as they start talking.
Maybe not. Sorry about that. Just gonna. Yeah, we have to go. We don't want to hold it. everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'm Corey Wilden, and wait, that's just. Why don't we try that? Is this the spot? Maybe that'll work.
Let's give him a chance to start again, Tori.
Say, apparently we're gonna have to come here, guys. All right, I'll try that again. Hello, I'm Corey Wilden. I'm a Montanan, Marine Corps veteran, and I've been in law enforcement for 16 years. My first 10 years I was in Yellowstone County, that sheriff's office. I began my career as a reserve deputy, and I earned my full-time position in that agency. I've been over there. I was involved in numerous investigations ranging from property line easement issues to landlord-tenant problems to homicide investigations. I learned very valuable techniques that I've used throughout my career. I was a member of a tactical response team as an entry team member, as a designated marksman. I was an FTO and a field training officer. I trained new deputies in how to do their job, how to perform their duties on a daily basis. I also trained not just the new deputies, I trained all the deputies in defensive tactics and self-defense. I was a member, search and rescue coordinator, boat crew operator, where I had 25 saves. I've been a leader, mentor, and instructor since I was 18 years old. I'm almost 45 now. I'm not going to stop teaching and helping those around me. I've been in the Sanders County Sheriff's Office going on 6 years now, and I see the shortcomings in the office, and I'd like to fix those problems. Montana law and the court's interpretation of them is constantly changing. I'm here in the trenches, and I know what changes need to be made and how to stay current with what the Montana Supreme Court says we need to do to accomplish our job. And I'd like to bring that to all the other deputies as well. As your sheriff, my office is going to utilize our training experience to provide a safer environment for the citizens of Sanders County. Our job to investigate complaints from citizens, present professional, usable reports there. The courts, sorry.
Thank you, Corey Wilden. You got to come out in front of the speakers so you don't get feedback. So next up is Chris Stout.
Good evening. Thanks for everybody coming here. Thanks for the Sanders County Republican Women for putting this together, and all of the folks that have supported this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Dow. I'm your 2022 candidate for sheriff here in Sanders County. I've lived in Sanders County for about 8 years, and my wife has been here for 20. We have great children, Gabby, Cade, Maria, Elizabeth, and now 6-week-old Isabella Montana Stow, named after her home. I'm a former active duty Marine. My first MOS in the Marine Corps was 5811, which is military police officer. I attended the first Marine Corps counterterrorism school. I was part of the first counterterrorism task force at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and emergency response task force at the base as well. Over the past 30 years, I've continued my tenure to service both our country in international and national venues. Currently, I'm a contract with the DoD. I'm a technical instructor, mentor, and team leader, and supporting various tradecraft under programs affiliated with agencies and military underneath United States Special Operations Command. I have 2 degrees. One's a bachelor in Homeland Security with public safety and emergency management. And I'm a certified first responder instructor for emergency response in diving and scuba incidents. I'm also a emergency responder incident commander certified as well. For those of you who don't know, I am also a Montana delegate. So I'm a Republican delegate that goes up and we support platform resolutions that go into the legislation and ultimately turn into conservative and important values to maintain our quality of life here in Montana. I'm a school board trustee now serving 3 years, and now I'm asking you to support me as sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Stow. Next, we have Roy Scott.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Roy Scott. My family's been in and out of here since 1982. I came back in the 90s, then I came back in the 2000s, then I came back permanently in 2014. When I moved back to Thompson Falls, somebody stole my chainsaw, and instead of me sitting on the couch and complaining about it, I decided to put on a badge and do what most won't do. So in 2015, I started out as a reserve deputy. 2016, I started working in the jail. 2017, I got on with the Thompson Falls Police Department. I worked as a police officer and in the jail at the same time. Did that for about 9 months till I went to the academy, and then I was offered a full-time position with the sheriff's office, and I took it. I saw some things in the sheriff's office I really didn't like, so I backed away from it, and I went back to work for the Thompson Falls Police Department. The chief approached me and asked me to stay here instead of going to another department. I'm still serving this community, and I plan on serving it for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Okay, next up, Lanny Hensley.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out. I'm Lanny Hensley. I'm currently the Sanders County Undersheriff. I'm a Montana native, even though I began my law enforcement career in Wyoming. I've been the Sanders County Undersheriff since 2012. Before that, I was a deputy. Before that, I was a state trooper in Wyoming for 12 years. And I started as a deputy sheriff in Pinedale. I'm currently supervisory, command, and administratively certified with Post in Montana. Some of the things I've been able to do since I've been the undersheriff was establish a formal FTO program. When I first got to the county, they handed me the keys, and they're like, "Can you work nights?" And we've come a long way since then. We've got a long ways we need to go. I was able to change our CAD and RMS system over just so we could have laptops in the vehicles so officers could be connected to dispatch, do reports from out in the field instead of having to drive back to the sheriff's office all the time. Some of my goals, I want better community relationships, more presence in the schools, better information sharing with the public as far as crime and calls for service, and better training for our officers and our dispatchers and our detention officers, because that is all a liability factor for the public if they don't get the training they need. Stronger reserves, obviously, and just overall efficiency of operations. Everything from the call for service that needs to be answered and handled down to the light bulb that needs to be fixed in the jail. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lanny. Okay, Mark French.
Hi, Mark French. I'm married to Katie French. She's running for clerk and recorder. We might be able to get some valid elections someday soon. I've kept my oath to her for 30 plus years. I will keep my oath to you, which is to uphold the Constitution of the United States, so help me God. Born and raised here, gone for a few years to go to school, multi-generations. Live here. I'm equally yoked with the creator of liberty. My experiences in medicine, I've been in planes for 20 plus years. I know detail and stress and multitasking. You cross the T's, you dot the I's, and in blood banking, for example, that can cross over into the sheriff's department. My experience in law is on the right side of the law, the constitutional side of the law, actually trying to get law officers to obey their own oath. Honesty is key, and I will tell you, I raised a bunch of children, didn't drink, not one drop. I was an elder for a while, didn't drink, not one drop. Since then, I drink a beer every now and then when I go to Quinn's. A principle is a separation of powers that I'm not going to have a chance to talk about, but if I was a sheriff and ordered by the judge to serve papers to somebody who doesn't wear a mask in the courtroom, I wouldn't serve the papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And last but not least, Sean Fielders.
Well, folks, I'd love to say I was born and raised here, but I wasn't. I'm a transplant. I did 27 years all within the sheriff's office in Lynn County, Oregon. My wife and I planned on moving out here many years ago, but she's also a retiree from the same sheriff's office with 20 years. And so, obviously, we couldn't let our pensions go in order to make this happen. As soon as we could, we moved here. We love this community. It's down-home conservative values is what drew us to it. In my time in the sheriff's office, I was blessed. I started out as a reservist as well. Many deputies do. I worked my way up through many special programs. I was a sergeant in charge of 3 city municipal law enforcement contracts where I managed 3 cities with all the deputies that were contracted to work there for extra police. From there, I actually went on. I've got some management experience. I was one of the very first presidents of the Deputy Sheriff's Association, so I have quite a bit of hard-learned experience dealing with collective bargaining units. Moving right along, I was also a SWAT team commander. I was a sniper before that, and when I retired, I was a senior sergeant of the county. Saying that because I've got an awful lot of experience. As far as investigations, there's very few that I haven't been involved with. There's not nearly enough time in 2 minutes to go through that resume. But what I want to do is bring what I've learned in my experience back to Sanders County. I do not want the creep that happened in Oregon and watch my beloved state go down that too. And I see it coming here, and I've got a plan to stop that in this county. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. All right, we've got 6 fine gentlemen up here vying for this position. We're pleased to have such good quality candidates. We are going to do a little stand-up round here. And we've gone through the questions or the responses from the last forum and picked out a few, and we want to do a little bit of follow-up on them. And we don't have a lot of time, but we do have a little minute. So we want you to stand up if you have served in a management capacity directly responsible for hiring, firing, and supervising at least 10 employees.
Go ahead. No, you're fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to give you 1 minute to explain where you did that service and what your main responsibilities were.
My experience with that has been as the undersheriff here with the Sanders County Sheriff's Office. Everything from helping write the questions for the job applications to interviewing and doing the background checks, and then training them when we hire them.
That's quite a question. Whenever I first got out of the military, I moved to Pennsylvania. I worked for a company named Tarbuck Security. Within 2 weeks of working for the company, I was promoted to corporal, put in charge of the mobile patrol division, and I had 60 officers underneath me, and I was in charge of taking care of their scheduling, the billing, and Not necessarily the hiring and firing, that was also work with my lieutenant.
Kind of go back on what I just spoke of. I managed 3 city law enforcement contracts, and all the deputies that were involved with that, there was anywhere between 8 to 12, depending on the contract size at the time. Plus, I did time over in Iraq as a contractor, where I had 22-man team, which I was the team leader of, and had full control of that.
This is a pretty lengthy question for me. So after I got out of the Marine Corps, which during my tenure in the Marine Corps, I was able to be a team leader, and we had 13 folks under there. And of course, as a non-commissioned officer, anybody that's not a non-commissioned officer or is lower grade than you have a responsibility to be a leader. Went to leadership schools in the Marine Corps, developed top leadership schools for Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. I've been a CEO of multiple companies. I was a director, executive director for a non-government organization, which was an international organization dealing with philanthropy and active encounters with Southeast Asia. We put together some philanthropic efforts over there, as well as did some operational acts within that venue. I was a vice president of another non-government organization, a nonprofit, and I can go on. Thank you.
Mine was during the Marine Corps. In Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team, I was the platoon sergeant in charge of 55 men. And then in Yellowstone County, I was as a field training officer. We have a lot of input on who they hire and whether they stay if they're making it through the training process.
Do I get my minute?
We will, I'm sure there'll be something you'll stand up here on. All right, so during the previous forum, we asked the question, will you enforce every state law and local ordinance regardless of your feelings about it? And Lanny, Roy, and Corey said yes, so would you please stand up? And would you just quickly tell us why that's important in a minute or less?
Discretion. Officers have got to have discretion that's appropriate for their community. It's not our job to redefine and reinterpret the law. That's the legislator's job, the legislative function. The judicial branch interprets them.
I don't have anything to add to that. What I said was already said best.
Same thing for you? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, those of you who said no, that you will not enforce every state and local ordinance regardless of your feelings about it, please stand up. Sean, Chris, and Mark. Mark, we're going to start with you. Tell us why.
Because I swear an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And there are many codes that are not constitutional. The link in the chain, executing down to tyranny, I'm one of the links. And if there's an order from above that violates life, liberty, property, I will not enforce that. That's my job. Separation of powers is the executive branch. I'm the executive branch. The legislative branch is an equal power. The judicial branch is an equal power. They don't have authority over the executive.
Thank you. I didn't mean to cut off your time, but I don't know what the trick is.
Article 3 and 1 of the Montana Constitution.
Article 3 of the Montana Constitution.
Article
3-1.
So I think it's really important to understand a little bit about the role of the sheriff. And your number one role as a sheriff is to uphold the Constitution. And often, both on a national and a local level, there are laws that are passed that violate the rights of others with the Constitution. Within the Constitution, Mark said a little bit about it, but there's also something that happened way back in the 1700s to where the word or term nullification became prevalent. And that was when they were trying to push tariffs down the throats of states that were imposed by the federal government. Those tariffs were deemed unconstitutional and violated the state's right under the 10th Amendment. And therefore, a gentleman by the name of, I believe, Calhoun, was set forth to nullify those particular laws. Here we are right now in a situation where nullification has been a very specific. Is that it? Okay. Okay, real quickly, John Madison set forth a very specific process for us in the Federalist Papers 46 on how to nullify unconstitutional laws in your community or your nation. Thank you.
A lot of it's already been said. The first part of the oath is that we are to uphold the Constitution. We take a solemn oath to that. Hopefully, our legislature will pass good laws. If they fall within the Constitution of the United States, then obviously we will enforce those. However, as we just talked about, mask mandates, things like that, that really skate the edges and violate the constitutional rights, then no, the sheriff would be violating his oath of office and in absolutely losing the trust of the people that voted for him. So that's why my answer is no, not every law is a just law and falls under the Constitution.
Okay, now, the question, I'm being told we have to hold the mic a little bit further away from the mouth, and we have to try to stay away from the speaker in the corner. So, we'll see. It does remind me of school. Okay. Number 3, stand up if you have 10 years or more of experience as a law enforcement officer. Okay, we've got 4. We've got Lanny Hensley, Sean Fielders, Chris Stow, and Corey Wilden. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Stand up if you have led an incident command team. Okay, same 4, same answer as last time. We're just going to have you tell us a little bit about it.
The one that really comes to mind is a standoff we had in Trout Creek when the sheriff was out of town. And then I've done similar things on forest fires and search and rescue missions.
A couple things come to mind. As a SWAT team commander, I had over 15 years of working with SWAT teams. So it's a 40-man SWAT team is like herding cats. So I did that, and I was also well into search and rescue, where we had huge search and rescue operations where we had actually hundreds of people that I had to manage and again, herd sometimes. So I've had a lot of experience there.
The first incident command response was down at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, where we were responded to Hurricane Hugo. So it's been back a while back. Hundreds and hundreds of people through multiple different organizations, and that was my role. I can go on and say there's been national and many other hurricanes. Hurricane Katrina, we responded to an incident there at the Superdome where they were really involved with some pretty horrendous stuff inside the Superdome. We shut that down. Internationally, down in Southeast Asia on the border of Mindanao, we took a team and organized through 3 different agencies over there, international agencies, to relieve a threat from Abu Sayyaf, and there's others out there. I've just been fortunate enough to have great people to help serve and respond to those particular situations. Thank you.
Mine was Marine Corps. My unit was the first one on the ground when the embassy got blown up in Nairobi. And then I ran one of the largest search and rescue attempts in Yellowstone County the year before I came here.
Okay, so next one is stand up if you have successfully managed an annual budget of $500,000 or more. Does that budget involve anything that you haven't spoke to us about already? Do you need to explain?
There's been several organizations. There was a director of corporate services for risk mitigation for a Fortune 1000 company on the east side. There was another consumer mitigation, $50 million consumer mitigation effort in South Carolina that was that I led the team for. That involved various elements, including consumers and providers, insurance companies, those kinds of things. And of course, I was the executive director of the non-government organization, the 3P Foundation, which we had, I think, over a $40 million annual budget that I was responsible for a while. So, thank you.
Probably the budget for those 3 city contracts, I don't think that would have covered the vehicles in those 3 city contracts. So just the dynamics of equipment and deputy times was probably triple that at least. So I had to manage that on a regular basis, dealing with the 3 different mayors, 3 different city councils, and then going to the sheriff and dealing with him as far as that's concerned. So I had a lot of experience as far as that's concerned.
The annual operating budget for Sanders County Sheriff's Office is about $2.2 million. And for the last 10 years, I've been working with the sheriff and our office administrator and been managing that. Covers everything that we use from paper clips to patrol vehicles.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Now, the 3 that haven't managed a budget over $500,000 a year, go ahead and stand up. And we're going to give you an opportunity to tell us how you will go about managing almost $3 million annual budget in the Sanders County Sheriff's Office.
I actually got a copy of the budget and I was going over it, trying to make heads or tails of it. I've actually sat down with a few people so that I can kind of make sense of what the budget is and where some things can be changed around a little bit. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. But you know what? Neither did the current sheriff. Whenever he took over, he didn't have 10 years or more. He had never run an incident command center. He had never ran a budget. But you know what? He got by because he had a team. And I plan on having a team to do it.
I pretty much have the same answer. I'm gonna have a little bit to learn, but there's a couple of things in the budget that we're gonna be able to maybe save a little money on, and it's gonna be with time management of the office personnel and the deputies themselves, doing things the right way with somebody supervising them and making sure that there's no unnecessary overtime.
I would just say that I think a number of these guys are overqualified for Mayberry. We don't have billion-dollar budgets. This is manageable. Tom Rummel took the job. He was a logger. He was sheriff's deputy for a little while. He took the job, did a good job with it. There's a learning curve. You bet there is. But the issue here is principle. It's not about knowledge so much. And it's not about the resources from DC or what you learned in Washington and Oregon. This is about a principle. Are you principled? Are you going to make decisions? I haven't spent any time in law enforcement. I've been on the other side of that bench. Are we going to change the trend? Are we just into the status quo? Who can manage the most money and all that? No, it's about principle. Are you going to honor your oath? What have you been doing for the last 10 years as far as liberty? Thank you.
Stop making me laugh.
Okay, we've got a little surprise for you guys. We are going to give you an essay question. You've all got a pen. And if you will just take out, pass these down and fill them in. We'll give you a few minutes to do that while we're taking care of some other things. And we're going to ask you a question before you get started on this. Gentlemen, are you all aware that campaign signs can only be placed on private property with permission? If you're aware of that, raise your hand. Okay. So you all know. Okay, gentlemen, are any of you aware that you have campaign signs in public right-of-ways right now? You better check, because you do. Some of you do. Okay, at least two that I've noticed, two different candidates. And they will go missing sooner or later. The Department of Transportation will take them down, and if they're in a county right-of-way, the county will take them down and dispose of them. So we know a lot of effort and time goes into setting them up and paying for those, so make sure they're on private property. And just a note for our audience too, you know, if a campaign sign is up and it's on private property with permission, please leave it alone regardless of how you feel about the candidate. Let's respect each other and let's respect those private property rights. These candidates are raising money, people are supporting them and contributing to them to pay for those things, so let's not disrespect that, okay? Sound like a good deal? Thanks, everybody. Okay, so they're filling out their survey question, and we're going to interrupt them a little bit, but this won't be a big interruption. I'd like you to, at the top of your paper, write down who your role model is or who your hero is. It should be a famous person or character that the audience would be able to relate to.
How does this relate
They
to
don't have to be alive. So who's your hero or role model is a well-known person or character. And while they're completing their questions, perfect timing, there's my alarm. Okay, so while they're doing that, we are going